Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is Wrench Every Day. And beside me, well, this is my Lexus SC300 that now has a small block Chevy in it. It was used in the Tavarish B is for Build Chris shootout a couple years ago where this thing failed miserably. This is our third installment, so if you've seen them, you're very kind of intimately familiar, and we are getting the chance to rematch the Freedom Civic, Tavarish's ride turbo Honda Civic with a bunch of stuff I don't know about because it's a Honda and I've never been that excited about them. But who is very excited about them is Brent from PFI Speed, and he has that thing, and he's gonna make it a rocket. So we've got our work cut out for us. Brent is a serious builder, a very serious contender when it comes to making cars go fast, and this thing really isn't. In the last episode, we got this small block fired up and running, honestly better than it did during the shootout time. But I don't trust it. We need to have something that we know is gonna go quick. But before we even get to building a new engine for it, we have got to get all this old stuff out of it. So our goal today is to go ahead and cut out the little bit of a roll bar that Chris threw together in it in preparations for a full roll cage coming to it later, and go ahead and pull this small block and TH350 automatic transmission out of there. These are parts we don't need. So the whole point of last episode was to make this thing mobile again, so I didn't have to push it around. And the whole point of this episode is to make it immobile again. I'm smart. I do things to make my life difficult a lot. You know, questionable choices. That's what you've got to do. It's really cool that eBay Motors wanted to see these cars reach their maximum potential, and we've got Brent working really hard on that Civic. We've got a lot to do on this Lexus, and thanks to eBay Motors, it's possible. Now, if you're not familiar with eBay Motors, it is a fantastic marketplace to find your next project car. There's tons of classified listings as well as auctions on cars. Your next daily driver, something reliable that isn't gonna run 16 seconds in the quarter mile, as well as all the parts and accessories that you would ever need to keep your cars working, to make them fast, so fast they blow up, so then you have to go buy more parts. They make it easier than ever. They have an app that you can use on your phone and tablet devices that if you ever need to list your car for sale, it has an awesome decoder system with your license plate or VIN and helps populate that listing for you, making it just incredibly easy to get that thing listed for sale. With their buyer protections and easy to use interface, it's no wonder they are a global leader when it comes to being an online marketplace. And well, that interface is a little bit too easy to use. I find myself, I order a lot of parts. It's exciting to just kind of scroll through, and there's a lot of really good deals on there. So check it out, information in the description box below. Get you started, and when we're talking about getting started, let's also get started wrenching. All right, so we're going to go over the engine bay real quick one more time because this is the last time we get to see it. I've got the jump box in there from driving it in. We have our flipped headers because we couldn't fit them underneath, and I want to keep a hood. It looks really nice. And for the engine, we have got some flavor, raspberry, Chevy small block. We're gonna get it out of there and try to learn a little bit more about that. We've got the Holley Sniper EFI. We may fix this and find a home for it later. Right now, it's not gonna do it. And then again, the other big thing we're gonna try to get done today is come in here, nice reflective glass, and remove this roll bar. Now, Chris did a good job throwing it together without much sleep, just out of a basic kit, but it's not gonna cut it for what we're trying to do and build. And we're gonna have to do a little bit of re-engineering on that rear suspension, and some of those pickup points are part of that rear suspension. So we are going to, well, we're gonna make some sparks, then we're going to figure out getting this hood off, and rip her heart out. So yeah, let's get to it. let's get you caught up to speed with all of the wrenching that we have been doing under here. We have, dangly bits. This is our shift cable. Not needed. We've got our kickdown cable that's going to come with the transmission. We have a mechanical speedometer cable that was folded and shoved, and it's there. Don't know what it's doing exactly. This car, the more we tear into it, the more it just becomes someone had a budget and bought some really nice parts. And unfortunately, the car builders, I guess, were just over their head. Trying to do things they weren't quite qualified for. One, we don't have a torque converter bushing. So with it unbolted, it's extra loose and floppy. They did space it, but they used really small bolts. This is a threaded torque converter. You should run your bolt into that, and then you can put a nut on it if you want, kind of as an extra safety. Well, they didn't do that. They used too small of a bolt, and they just kind of flopped around and, banged up the flex plate just a little. One of my favorite things is they didn't, consider the starter when they ran the front to rear support for the motor plates, and it sat directly on the power lug of your starter here. They just shoved some rubber on it. That'll be good enough. If that rubber ever failed, it was only a direct short. So it's kind of surprising some of the things we're coming across. The other things I can't quite figure out. They had all of the belly pan and trim on this side. Wheel liner's still in it. But it's gone on this side. But what's not gone are just little plastic clips. They cut wires and just shoved wires around. It's just a whole lot of try and fail. If you're building a race car and you're trying to make it light, you should probably take as much stuff, out of it as possible. So we're now at the point where we can lower this down to get the transmission out because I don't have a standing transmission jack. Once we liberate the transmission, then we can get this engine pulled up and out the top, look at some of the parts, and if you've made it this far into the video, I'm going to tease what we're putting in this thing once we're all done working on it and tearing it down for the day. So, yeah, we're having to completely rebuild the race car that was already a race car once because it wasn't done right. Well, as you can, there we go. See, we've got the Lexus engine out. Well, Chevy engine out of the Lexus. And I made a comment before that last time lapse, where I was just saying there's a lot of things, right stuff done wrong. And I want to go over a little bit of that so you can kind of understand what we're fighting as we're going through and making the car right. So one of the big things here is, you see that grease fitting? On a drag racing drive shaft, you do not want greasable joints. You just need to deal with the increased service life of non-greasable. And the reasoning is, in order to have grease travel through to the end caps, it has to be rifle drilled, barrel drilled, meaning there's hollow spots in the middle. It's not going to hold up to a heavy drag launch. The rest of that, they're decent parts. Again, there's so many expensive parts in this car, and it didn't perform. It was not executed right. And again, it just comes down to cleaning up some of the little things. We've got extra brackets. Now, they were using those for air inlets, but again, they have all the shrouds on this side, No shrouds on this side in the wheel wells, which is just really odd. I do like the use of running that oil line for the gauge, you know, through an old bolt hole. It's a thing. And as you can also see, the mid plate and front plates are really cool when you're pulling engines. We were able to unbolt everything on the transmission, but keep the crossmember in, and it just kind of hung out. And again, you have that piece there that just makes servicing a little easier in theory. We've got that roll bar cut out. Actually, I didn't get a chance to show you. Let me show you inside. We just sanded it down a little bit just to get the metal nice and flat and ready for whatever new roll cage we build in there. But again, there's going to be suspension work where we're going to have to go through and there we go. Fix all of that. Here, just a TH350. It's a small, fairly lightweight transmission. Even built their best, they just don't hold up well. They work better if you tighten all the bolts. Only 2 of them had any real torque on them. Roll bar, again, Chris did a decent job throwing that thing together in just, you know, at the very limited time that he had. But it will not meet the safety goals of what I'm trying to do. I'm a little bit taller than Chris, so that's where we're at with that. Now this engine, I'm curious. I'm waiting for word back. We may get to run this thing on an engine dyno, so I'm not going to tear it apart just yet. But one thing I did do is run the part numbers on these cylinder heads. They're $2,000, or actually about $2,200 for the pair. They're the Eliminator Racing heads. Those are very expensive AFR research heads. The intake manifold, Engine Masters has done a lot of testing. It performs very well. It has so many good parts. It just wasn't executed right. And it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. If you don't execute it correctly, it's not going to be fast. That's why there's so many cars with cheap, just budget parts. You can, you know, everyone makes fun of eBay turbos, Boosted Boys, PFI Speed. They've proven if you execute those turbos correctly, they're viciously fast. And there's no reason you can't make cheap parts go fast. It's the same reason you can have expensive parts go slow. So I am really curious to eventually find out the ultimate culprit of it. Looks like we had a little bit of an exhaust leak there. Whoops. That wasn't our problem considering I just threw those headers on. That's the old. This is all the old. This is behind us now. We're moving on to something much more exciting. We're going to set up the camera and I'm going to give you guys 2 little sneak peeks of what we've got coming for Lazarus here, because he's been through a lot and he deserves the best. So let's set up the camera and I'm going to bring that stuff over. Okay, you guys ready to see what Lazarus has coming? Let me go get the first part here. Ha! Yeah, turbo. Everything's better with a turbo. That's Borg Warner, which means it's going to handle a lot of abuse. What I like about them, they have big shafts. They get started slow, but once they get going, man, do they stay going. And you can anti-lag them a lot, and everyone knows anti-lag's fun. So we've got turbo, but you need something to turn the turbo, right? Got the short block. Are we ready? Can I grab everything and do it? Ta-da! Wait, that's my Supra's 2J. This isn't the right engine. Wait, you weren't supposed to be there. Where's the right engine?